Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to The Roads with Belle. Today is September 21st, 2025, and this is episode 109 of The Roads Not Taken, which is a weekly series where we go over the news that was unreported, underreported, didn't get the coverage we thought it deserved, or we just found it interesting. And then we go through some questions from y'all. But before we get started today, I want to thank all of you that signed up for Patreon to listen to the Interstate with Dee and Research Road with Dana. We really appreciate it. And if you missed the news, there's a video that went out explaining everything on Thursday. But thank y'all again. We really do appreciate it. Today is September 21st, and today is the International Day of Peace. And on this date in 1792, the French monarchy was abolished. And starting with foreign policy. As the U.S. is perceived as weaker and weaker by the day, China's defense minister has chosen to remind the world of China's goal of bringing Taiwan back under China's government. This happening while U.S. and Chinese officials were meeting was undoubtedly planned. You know, Chinese officials aren't really known for off-the-cuff remarks. Trump has asked the Supreme Court to end deportation protections for hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans. The U.S. has struck a third boat from Venezuela it claims was involved in running drugs. The U.S. is planning $6 billion in new arms sales to Israel. The U.K.'s outgoing foreign intelligence chief says that Russia isn't seeking peace or negotiation, and that it has bitten off more than it can chew in Ukraine. The French president says that recognizing Palestine is required to counter extremism. Thousands of new recruits are showing up in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is one of the conflicts Trump claims to have solved. The new recruits are aligned with one of the non-state actors. Trump's peace efforts for Ukraine and Gaza have all but collapsed, as the Russian military makes moves against NATO, and Qatar has said they want an apology for the recent strike before they will resume mediation efforts. Countries on the eastern side of NATO territory have started scrambling jets at potential incursions by Russian forces after the recent probes. In U.S. news, a federal judge has tossed Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit. Trump can refile it. Republicans altered Senate rules to confirm a bunch of Trump's nominees at once. As we covered on the main channel, Trump was reported to have been preparing to fire a U.S. attorney in Virginia. It's now being reported that he resigned before Trump could fire him. Basically, you can't fire me, I quit. There are growing signs that former Vice President Harris is considering another try for the White House in 2028. The Pentagon is reportedly asking journalists to sign a pledge to only use authorized information. In cultural news, the towers of Notre Dame are reopening 6 years after a devastating fire, in a sign that repairs are closing in on finishing. Trump is teasing a TikTok deal finally. We'll see if it's real this time or not. First, Ted Cruz came out opposing the Trump administration's moves against free speech. Now, even Tucker Carlson is speaking out. Yes, both of them will be directly impacted by any pendulum shift. Vice President Harris released a new book torching a lot of other Democratic politicians. Experts say they don't see the political strategy behind the book. In science news, there are now at least 6,000 known planets outside of our solar system. One of y'all, come and pick me up. Researchers at the University of Maine are suggesting that cultural evolution is now more important than genetic evolution. It's one of those things that's obvious when you think about it. Some countries have greater life expectancies. That's the simplest example. In economic news, the CEO of Ag Heritage Farm Credit Services said, quote, "I can tell you this. This is the most stress I've seen since the 80s when you come to farm profitability." He then pointed to land values as being the only positive in that farmers probably have some lendable equity. So, they can go deeper in debt. Some in Trump world are pushing for Bessent to run both the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. Yeah, that's not a total disaster in the making. The Trump administration is reportedly considering raising the retirement age for Social Security. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has postponed an important annual inflation report. We got a lot of questions about whether this was them cooking the books. It's the Trump administration. But I will say these reports have been delayed before in the past. In Oddities, a woman told reporters she's married to an AI chatbot of Luigi. The U.S. citizenship test has been updated with new questions. It's always fun to pull that out and see who can answer the questions on it. On to the Q&A. Our first question. Miss Bell, what is a K-shaped economy? It's an economic term for describing what is generally the default state of the economy, just more pronounced. What is a K-shaped economy? Literally, the rich get richer while the poor get poorer. The rich are the top part of the K headed up, and the poor are the bottom part of the K headed down. And if you're wondering if you're rich or poor in this situation, you're poor. The bottom of the rich in this case are making mid-six figures. Would a reforger-style exercise be a display that might put Russia back in check? Russia is currently out of pocket because they don't think the West has the leadership or strength to counter them. If they thought the West didn't have the capability, that would be one thing. And a reforger-style exercise might remind them. But they're aware of the capability. They just don't think there's anybody in the West capable of leading the U.S. to stand up. I'm an Australian who knows more than I'd like about American politics, but not that much. With the upcoming Senate budget shutdown scare, I got to wondering about something. I know that a shutdown is unlikely, that one side eventually caves. But in that unlikely event, what happens if the regime just says, nah? What if they just say, the president decides, and declare their own budget? Or don't even bother and use it as an excuse to stop paying for stuff they don't like and continue paying for stuff they like? The money is still in the accounts, right? Obviously, you're going to say that would be unconstitutional and highly illegal. To which I respond, so Tuesday then. Is there actually anything to stop them from just doing what they want? So there's two things to prevent this. First is that, yes, it would be blatantly unconstitutional on a whole different level. Even this Supreme Court would nix a budget without congressional approval. Then, if somehow that was ignored, the businesses the money goes to would be unlikely to deliver because they know that money would be taken back eventually. Aside from that, it would probably shake faith in the dollar to the point that the entire economy collapses. So, that looks like it. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.